Hey everybody, this is iLad and I am here to show you just a really quick tutorial for how to build a long delay timer. This is something I've seen people ask questions about. I suppose the default way to do it is to start with a simple button and run it into a long chain of delay signals. Something like this. Yeah. And as you go down the row, each delay signal is a half second of delay. So you've got your button, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds. I'm going to call it quits there. 6 seconds of delay. It's actually not a whole lot of delay, and you've got actually a fair number of blocks involved here, right? So, boop, and it kind of works its way down. Alright, so the delay is there, but it takes up a lot of room for such a simple little thing. So here's a better way. Alright, so I'm going to do a much more compact and much more easily configurable long delay timer over here. And when I say long delay, you understand that this is what you end up for 6 seconds. If you want to get into like 6 minutes, then you've got this whole other thing. Now there are binary systems that people use to set up, and I don't understand how those work. What I'm going to show you is more compact than those. Like, you can get insanely long delays without actually running a linear chain like this, but I don't want to use these delay blocks at all. So what we're actually going to work with here is going to be so much more compact. Alright, to start off with, we need an input. Okay, I still have a salvage computer working or sitting on my hotbar from a previous project. I'm just going to go ahead and use that as a convenient. That's green, that's input. Alright, from there I'm going to go into a flip-flop. This simply shows that the system has been turned on. There's a lockout I could actually do. You know what, let me go ahead and do that lockout. I can go into an AND, the AND into the flip-flop, the flip-flop into a NOT, and then the NOT back into an AND, which means the button only the button only turns on the flip-flop if the flip-flop is not already on. See, now, like, I can't trigger the flip-flop at all. So, just as a testing and reset thing, I'm going to go ahead and set that up. Normally, this would not be part of the interface. Alright, so with the flip-flop on, we want the storage pull on this to be active, which currently it is. With the flip-flop off, though, we don't want it to be active. So we've got our flip-flop tied directly into this. This is going to be tied into a secondary storage block, and it's going to loop back to the first. Now I'm going to go ahead and leave this active, the storage pull. I'm going to take 6. Alright, don't forget to change items to auto pull. I'm using mesh as my dummy item. Could be anything. I want the one that I start with to go ahead and pull 10,000 at once. But I want this one, which is the actual timer, to only pull 1 at a time. Okay, so that's where we're getting our slowdown. Okay, so flip-flop goes on, it activates storage pull, and also, by the way, deactivates the NOT, through the NOT, deactivates storage pull in this one. Alright, so far so good. When this receives an item through that storage pull, it's going to activate the OR. The OR is going to, let's say, activate this black light. Gee, I wonder why I had black lights on my hotbar. So basically, this light should stay on for approximately, and I'll get to the approximately thing in a second, approximately 6 storage pulls. So however long that is. Okay, now when this one runs out, it needs to trigger some stuff. So I'm going to tie it into an OR, and then I'm going to tie the OR into a nut. Now when this one goes empty, it's going to reactivate this. It's going to toggle off that flip-flop. Actually, you know what? That means I can actually get rid of that because that's a redundancy through this knot here. And then the flip-flop, when it goes off, will turn this off so that items will flow very quickly within one storage pull right back to their source. Okay, so their items are slow moving this direction, but very, very fast moving that direction. Okay, so let's test it. If I hooked all this up correctly, this should stay on for approximately 6 storage pulls. Alright, so here's the initial starting configuration for this. Note that I've got the light controlled by the flip-flop. Note also that I've gone ahead and I've activated this OR signal. If you don't do that, if you leave all these off the way they are by default when you place them, nothing's going to work. So there we go. Alright, and that's the completion of the first pull, pull tick. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut straight to the end of the cycle. Okay, so moment of truth. There we go. Alright, so there's a couple of things you got to understand about this. First of all, there's a reset time of 1 pull tick in between cycles. Yeah. Alright, so actually one thing that we can do to avoid accidentally screwing anything up here, I'm going to take this OR, I'm going to tie it into the AND, which means that in between the light cutting off and it being fully reset, you shouldn't actually be able to activate it at all. Let me go ahead and reduce, let me go ahead and reduce the actual number of items in here, and I'm going to put that theory to the test. Make sure I'm right about that. Okay, so the light's on. As soon as the light goes off, I'm going to hit the button and see what happens. The flip-flop should not change state, is what should happen. Okay, second pull tick should be ending any second now. There we go. Aha! And you see that flip-flop did not change state. It only does that after the storage timer has fully reset. There we go. There we go. See? Works great. So that's important because, as I've kind of discovered, if you hit the button during the reset cycle without that safeguard in place, you're gonna wish you hadn't, because you're gonna have to come in here and you're gonna have to toggle these manually. You're gonna have to move items back and forth manually. Just a real pain. So there's a couple of caveats here. First of all, the light doesn't stay on for precisely 6 pull ticks the way that it does right now, and the reason for that is it's tied in with the flip-flop, which means as soon as I press the button, it comes on. Yeah, and it doesn't go off again until 6 pull ticks have completed. Now, the reason why that's a big deal, let me open up. You can see the pull tick. If I press the button here, when it's right here, it means it's got to fill out the rest of the bar and then complete 6 ticks, or 2 ticks in this case, or whatever, however many items I have in here. On the other hand, if I press the button when it's right here, and I don't really know, right? That means it only has this much to do, and then the 2 full pull cycles, and that's it. So you're going to get a little bit of variableness either way with that. If you want to more precisely time how it works, instead of tying the light into the flip-flop, tie it into this thing, the OR that's on the receiving end, the counter storage block. Okay, now the trade-off there is it doesn't come on immediately necessarily. It only comes on after it receives the first item. And the other advantage to doing that is you actually have a visual indicator of when it's fully reset, because it won't turn off until the reset happens anyway. Alright, so there's a couple different ways you could configure it. half-second delays give you more fine-tuning, but when we're talking about long delays numbered in minutes or measured in minutes rather than in seconds or half seconds, if we're talking about you want something to run for an hour rather than something running for 5.5 seconds, you usually don't need that much precision. It's usually okay to go over or under a little bit. I've seen people speculate, and I have no idea if there's any truth to this. I've seen people speculate that if the server is overloaded, pull ticks actually happen more slowly, and so you're going to lose some accuracy or some precision for that reason. But again, for most applications for a long delay timer, it's not really going to be that big of a deal. Now, this uses 9 blocks, right? This one here, this is 13 blocks for 6 seconds. This lasts for, I'm just going to ballpark it here. The light stays on for, alright, I figure maybe 15 seconds. That's only for having 2 items in here. So, and I was ballparking that as, I don't know how long a pull tick is. What you've got is something that's slightly smaller for like, twice the time. But, check this out. Now it's pretty close to the equivalent time. Yeah? Now it's going to run a lot longer. And it's the same number of blocks, right? With the with the single little tiny consideration that you're going to need some storage space. Right? Boom. Done. Wow, because look how much, oh no, well, how close is that to being full? 10%, right? So I could take about half of this out. Boom. Suppose I need to slave that into this. Alright, so it does get bigger for the really insanely long things, but I mean, come on, this is 10 million? What's 10 million times 15 seconds, guys? That's a long dang time. You are not going to need to time that out. I don't think. So, it does get bigger when you get into significantly long delays. But anyway, I hope this tutorial was useful for you. Obviously, using it to power a light has applications that you might think of, but it's not the most useful thing in the world, right? But you can use it to power factory setups. You can use it to power, limited time accessing doors for mini games or whatever kind of stuff you wanted to do, really. And as the logic system kind of expands and we're able to trigger more stuff, this will just get more and more useful. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. See y'all next time. Bye bye.